If you're serious about your purpose, if you're serious about your business, if you're serious about chasing excellence, not women, you have to maintain that to a degree.
I'm not saying don't have kids. I'm not saying don't have a relationship with a woman.
Rich Cooper.
Mr. Richard Cooper.
Richard Cooper.
Rich Cooper to the show. How you doing, man?
We don't normally go live on Thursdays, guys, but we got a special guest in the house, man. We got Rich Cooper.
His name is Richard Cooper.
Richard, it's great to see you. I really appreciate your coming on.
Rich Cooper, welcome to the show today.
Being more honest about it, and women at the same time sort of relaxing their standard.
Cash, but 5% of my wealth in crypto. 95% of that is.
I just want a girlfriend, or I just want one girl, just want to be in a relationship.
And when you spend time playing Halo with little Timmy and zeroing the scope in on the BB gun.
Richard Cooper has generated over 1 billion views across all his content and has built an audience of more than 700,000 subscribers on YouTube. He's a 2-time best-selling author, the mind behind The Unplugged Alpha and The Top Shelf Man, with 5-star reviews and over 1 million copies sold.
It's showtime.
All right. Welcome back to another episode, guys. We got a lot to cover tonight. Got a whole bunch of tabs open here. It's going to take us a bit to get through, but you're going to come out of it unplugged. Look, if you're newer to the channel and my work, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss anything. A little project I've been working on for a few years now called The Unplugged Alpha. Started with the original book, which was published in 2019. That one, you can get them both off of Amazon. This is the most recent one we released back in the fall last year, Top Shelf Man. First book is kind of the intro. Second book takes you deeper down the rabbit hole. What we're doing tonight with tonight's show is we're going to kick off with a big mistake most guys make when in a long-term committed relationship. Use a quick example to illustrate that. And man, I got a lot of stuff that went on this week that I want to cover today. So let's get started. Before we do, I just want to draw your attention to the top left of your screen. You can scan that QR code. It'll bring you to my communities. I've got 3 offerings, a School of Unplugging, which is kind of where everybody goes to get started and get a little support on their unplugging journey. There's a lot of exclusive content behind that paywall and bi-weekly private Zoom calls in group session with me. So you get some group consults. Check out the ticker in the bottom. Again, if you're not familiar with the books, you can start real easily by opting into my email list. Get the red flag chapter and the green flag chapter absolutely for free. If you want to assess where you are as a man on the sexual marketplace, take the assessment at test.theunpluggedalpha.com. Let's get started. You're probably familiar with the soundbite I've used many a time. If you treat her like a celebrity, she'll treat you like a fan. Most men, when they get into a committed relationship, I believe because they love their woman and they want to please them, they tend to do things to pedestalize them and to sort of bend the knee a little bit more than what they're used to. And it's generally not a good idea. I had this clip that was brought to my attention earlier this week, which really illustrates this quite well. Let me just throw it up on a screen and we'll have a quick view together. Let's go full screen on this side and pull this back and watch what goes down here. This says husband's phone background versus wives.
My wife. Let me see. Gorgeous.
I'm just going to mute this because it's got some music playing in the background and sometimes the interwebs and YouTube doesn't like that, but we'll carry on. Just watch them. It's a picture of his wife on his wallpaper. The next guy, also a picture of his wife on the wallpaper. And this guy also with his screen locks with his wife. What do the wives have? Not him. Not him. Also not him. Are you unplugging and seeing the code in the Matrix, gentlemen? I see this a lot. You'll see it a lot of the times on social media, usually around Valentine's Day, birthdays, anniversaries. Usually like first thing in the morning, and as soon as the guy's up, he sits down, he hammers away. He's posted a bunch of nice photographs, maybe some videos. My wife is my stars, my moon, my everything. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be where I am today. She's the best friend. She's the mother of the blah, 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 blah. And they go on and on and on praising her. Sometimes if they're lucky, later on that day, she'll reciprocate. Not always. It's not wise to put that much effort into pedestalizing the woman that you love. I get it. You're in an LTR, you've committed, you love this woman, you want to spend the rest of your life with her, maybe. It doesn't mean you have to put her up on a pedestal and worship her everywhere. Okay. Things like gifts and flowers, sure, they can be deserved, but they're for rewards, if I can put it that way. You get sick, she nurses you back to health, sure, maybe buy her flowers then, right? You see what I'm saying? You have to be very, very careful with dispensing your affection and your promotion of affection publicly. You treat her like a celebrity, gentlemen. Eventually, not right off the bat, but eventually she will start to treat you like a fan. She'll become a little bit more indifferent towards you. She won't look as fondly towards you. Remember, you're not on her lock screen on her phone. What is there? Ask yourself that question. All right. Let's carry on with our next slide over here. What do we have lined up? Oh, okay. This is an interesting clip. So we got audio on this one too. I got to mute it. Women love to travel. Shouldn't be news to most of you guys that are familiar. They want to get out. They want to see the world. They want to stay in their hostels. They want to do their little thing. And they tend to document a lot of it now on social media. But there's this really, really unusual trend that's been going on lately, the last several years, where women have started to document and publicly put out on the internet, social media, the amount of men that they've been with. And I've got a fascinating example here that crossed my path earlier this week. I'm just going to rewind it. Again, I have to mute it because there's music. But it says here, rating my travel boyfriends, as she sort of dances around with it and starts to stitch together all the guys that she's, been with in her travels. They're all rated. So let's have a look here. Doing her little dance. Mr. Argentina was a 2 out of 10. Sri Lanka was 3 out of 10. Australia was 9 out of 10. Ireland, 6 out of 10. Chile, 7 out of 10. France, Greece, 8 out of 10. Canada, 10 out of 10. England, 7 out of 10. Colombia, 10 out of 10. Germany, 4 out of 10. Mr. Italy, 8 out of 10. New Zealand, 9 out of 10. And Mr. America, 9 out of 10. I don't know if you caught it in there, but there was 2 guys that were a 10 out of 10. Ladies, let me explain something to you. If you find a man that's a 10 out of 10, lock him down. You're like, why keep going? What is the point? What is the point? You're just reducing your value to your future husband. Okay, the father who's going to bring you children, look after you. It is incredibly unwise to document this sort of stuff on social media, on, for clout. Like, that's really what they're doing it for, for being honest. It seems to be like a clout chasing sort of exercise. Like, let me see, if I can get more likes and, feedback. And you couldn't see her face in the first one because she's dancing around. There was one over here. Let me just throw it back up on the screen. There's one over here where you could see her face. Let's just have a quick look over here. The guy playing the guitar, no. Mr. Hat, no. Canada, no. There you go. That's her. Nothing particularly, out of this world that's going to blow your hair back. You find a couple of guys that are 10 out of 10s, girl, lock them down. Get them to propose to you if that's really what you're after. But carrying on in this fashion and documenting and stitching together all these examples of the dudes that you've been on, during your travels, it's incredibly unwise. Men's value is based on doing things, right? Creating competency skills, demonstrating in the world they can put a dent in the universe, knowing how to make money, solve problems, being strong and masculine, having the capacity for violence. Again, if you're familiar with this, I've talked about this before. It's in my books. Trying to explain a little bit more for the newer crowd. But yeah, Brian here just dropped in the comment. She's basically a 4, right? And that value for women is not going to increase over time. It doesn't get better as you get older and you run into more guys and spend more time with these men. It's going to decrease. So you're sitting there as a 4 today, you're going to be a 2 and a 1 in several years, sort of thing. And it's just like everything that you've built for yourself, any value that you've created for yourself erodes over time with you running around the world doing these things. Ladies, be wise. In your youth, when you're most attractive and you're most valuable in a sexual marketplace, you should capitalize on that. Find the highest value guy that you can. Do not document it publicly all over the internet and lock him down. You're not like, this is why we saw during my tenure taking care of hosting ladies night and having all these conversations with women, as they kind of got older, they found it harder and harder. And as they got closer and closer towards their late 30s and 40s even, they started to realize, this rich guy seems to be right. He nails it every single time. I should have, I wish somebody would have sat me down and had this conversation. I'm having the conversation with you again. Pay attention. Send this clip to somebody that needs to see it. You understand? Crazy world that we live in. I mean, I just, sometimes you just got to shake your head. Now, moving on to my next slide over here, we've got this notion of a loyalty test. Have you guys heard of a loyalty test before? If you haven't heard of the notion of a loyalty test, it's what guys are starting to do. I've done videos on this before on the Entrepreneurs in Cars channel, where a guy will sort of message, I don't know, somebody that's prolific. And usually they know that their girl knows this guy. Maybe she's mentioned his name in passing. Maybe she follows a guy and you've noticed that there's some interactions going on there. But either way, he's a known, more valuable type of character on the sexual marketplace that she's familiar with. And what you're seeing guys do now is they're starting to ask these guys to do loyalty tests for them. And these guys are doing it because they're able to create some level of content for it. And we got a video here. It's a couple minutes long, and this guy explains how he did it and what ended up happening. And I'll break it down afterwards because, I mean, spoiler alert, most women will fail these, if we're being honest. Let's have a look here together.
All right, so this guy DM'd me. He said, yo, can you do a loyalty test with my girl? I asked him how old she was, and he said she was 22. He said she graduates this semester, and he's thinking about inviting her to live with him, but that's a big step. I told him I got you and asked for her ad. He gave it to me, then he asked if I charged a fee or anything. I told him as long as I can post the content, he was straight with me, but if not, he can just cash at me. He liked the message, but he was still a little worried. He said, do you think she'll figure out it's a test? She might check your TikTok. I just explained to him I haven't posted a loyalty test on my main TikTok in a minute. That's the page where I just promote my music and stuff like that, so it should be legit if she goes to find my socials. He was finally...
I don't know if anybody knows who this guy is. His face is not familiar, but he's talking about publishing music, so he seems to have somewhat of an audience. I don't know, maybe he's a rapper or something, but let me know in the comments if you know who he is.
Convinced. He said, okay, bet, man, I appreciate it. Right now is a good time to do it. She should be done with classes for the day. So I said, got you. I'll let you know if she responds. She was a public account, so I liked about 6 pictures, and then I slid right into her DMs. I'm not gonna lie, I was on some corny shit, so I just sent her a GIF and said, sheesh, I hope you don't mind if I slide in. As long as you get a response, being corny works. She said, LOL, how original. I said, who doesn't appreciate a good GIF? Then I asked her where she was from. She said, Dallas, but I go to school in Arizona. What about you? I told her I was from Richmond. I said, I've always wanted to go to Arizona. Do you like it out there? She said she likes going to school there because there's always something to do, but she misses home, not gonna lie. I told her, got you. I'm a homebody for real, so I kind of feel that. Always tell women you're a homebody. Whether you go out or not, just say you are. They eat that shit up. I said, have you ever been to VA? She said, nope. What's out there? I said, that's a good question. We got a beach, decent clubs/bars, and me. She said the first 2 seemed fun with the laughing emoji. Right here, I knew she was flirting. It was over. I said, wow, you're not fucking with me? She said, relax, I'm just kidding. What's your snap? She asked me for my snap. I gave it to her. Then I hit her with some slick shit. Watch this. I gave her my snap, but I said I like texting women I'm trying to get to know for real. It seems more intimate. She liked the message and gave me her number. By now, I had seen enough. I was like, okay, I'm going to just go ahead and show her boyfriend. I sent him the screenshots of our conversation. I guess he still wasn't convinced. He said, damn, can you ask her if she has a boyfriend? I told him, yeah, I got you. I said, you're sick.
I mean, right at that point, that's just how it is, right? Like right at that point, it's like you don't even need to go further and ask the guy to do more. You already know what she's all about, but let's keep watching.
Single, right? She said, are you?
Sorry, I was speaking over that. Let me just back up. He was asking her if she was single.
Still wasn't convinced. He said, damn, can you ask her if she has a boyfriend? I told him, yeah, I got you. I said, you're single, right? She said, are you? I said, of course. I'll probably hit you tonight. She said, okay, sounds good. She was failing tremendously at this point. I sent him her response. He said he couldn't believe it and that he was calling her right now. He also told me I can post it. What more can I say, man? It's a cold world out here.
All right. Does anybody know who this guy is? He's talking about making music and a rapper. So is it in the comments? Anybody? Or this dude here says he's just another ghetto TikTok boy. Look, here's the truth of the matter, right? Truth of the matter is, and I had posted it when I had shared this video, is that most women are going to fail these loyalty tests for 2 reasons. Number one, Vast majority of women are utterly delusional and think that their value on a sexual marketplace is much higher than what it is. With these in every woman's hand for the last 15 years or so, I think smartphones really got, distributed widely by late 2000 something, 2006, 7, 8, something like that. By then, most people had an iPhone or something like that. Then we had the apps that came with it, the Meta products, the Instagrams, the Facebooks, and all that sort of stuff, and it sort of compounded from there. With that, women went from getting attention locally when they were at the gym, maybe at the bank in the lineup or something like that, very rare and in an unusual or infrequent way, if we can put it that way. With the advent of the social media apps and the Instagram and being able to post salacious photographs while they're at the beach with their girlfriends in their bikini with the right filters and the right lighting and all that sort of stuff, after they've taken 700 and they only post the absolute perfect one, they get a lot of attention and validation. They get a lot of confirmation that, that bias in their mind that they're attractive is jacked up and confirmed, right? So again, number one, most women are utterly delusional. Now, the vast majority of, those 700 or the 7,000 likes that they're getting or the DMs that they're getting, they're mostly from guys that they're not interested in. They're unattractive. They're just regular Joes. Heart emojis, heart emoji eyes, you're so beautiful, blah, blah, blah. They just ignore them, whatever. Then along comes a guy with a blue check mark who she's familiar with, obviously, because her boyfriend knew that she knew who this guy was, slides into her DMs, and of course she's going to respond. Second point, if a woman thinks that she can upgrade to a guy that she perceives as a higher value quietly without any damage or limited damage to her reputation, she'll do it. The vast majority of women will fail these loyalty tests. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to say it again. You ask somebody that your girl is familiar with to slide into her DMs and test her loyalty to you. Unless you're better than that guy, she's probably going to fail the loyalty test. I mean, you're setting her up for failure if we're being honest. So it's not like you figured out some wicked new strategy like, oh, I got to tell Rich about this. How come it's not in his book or sort of thing? It's like, I didn't write about it because it's really not that relevant. The vast majority of women will respond positively to a much higher value guy, with a lot of influence. People don't understand, like guys don't really understand the gravity, the significance of the pull of influence. I talked about it actually in my first book. Mick Jagger's he's not a good looking dude. Rolling Stones frontman, the singer of the Rolling Stones. Same thing with Steven Tyler from Aerosmith. Generally not a very good looking dude. There's a lot of artists out there that aren't, conventionally handsome men. They're not like Brad Pitt or anything like that. And because of their massive reach and their audience and all their golden records and their platinum awards and all that sort of stuff, the look doesn't even really matter that much. The fact that they're that influential and they have that many women screaming and shouting at them, and it all started with things like the Beatles and Elvis and all that sort of stuff back in the black and white video days. You can go back to the original videos and women lose their shit over somebody like that, over that influence. If you set her up to have a guy that she's familiar with, that she might like his music or something like that, just slide into her DMs and she's like playing it cool, like she's gonna be like, oh, finally, this guy's recognized me. I've only been following him forever and liking his shit and throwing some comments here and there. Now he's sliding in my DM and now he wants to talk to me. Okay, of course she's going to respond to the guy. Like I said earlier, the vast majority of women will fail these tests. A really, really good woman, she'll pass it, but they're few and far between. Even the really good ones that are kind of like, borderline, like she's a really good chick, she's probably going to think in her head, well, this is a DM. Nobody else is going to see it. He's clearly interested in me. It seems genuine. Of course, she's going to respond positively and try to monkey branch. That's just how things are, guys. So don't get mad at the game. Don't learn the rules, understand how it's played. And again, your job as a guy is to do the work on yourself, not to beat out loyalty tests or anything else, but by having done the work on yourself develops renown for you, for your name, for your image, for your brand, if you will, if I can put it that way. And that should end up preceding you as a guy, right? You do this for yourself, okay? And that just opens other doors. It opens other doors for business transactions, for friendships, for networks, for invites to important rooms where you can put yourself in higher value rooms. That's the main play of it. Women are just a byproduct of all of that. You're not doing any of this for chicks or to get chicks. That would be a bad mistake. Super chat here from Blood Red Snake says, Rich, they will even respond to a lower guy. It don't matter. Look, if the guy's a Chad, very, very handsome guy and has a strong look, perhaps. But the vast majority of the time, women will always be interested in that more influential character. Okay? You understand? Let's carry on. Loyalty tests are always fun. I've said so many times, gentlemen, that there's always truth to every joke. That's one of the reasons why I love stand-up comedy. I often reference it in many of these podcasts. There's a couple sections in my book where I reference some, points of stand-up comedy. There's always a lot of truth to every joke. That's why we have a good laugh at stuff like this. There's a little clip here that was interesting because it's sort of like flip-flops back and forth between the storyline and the narrative. Let's have a look here. So it says, girl when you're ugly, and then it'll say girl when you're handsome, sort of thing. So you're going to see it flip-flop back and forth between opposite narratives. So just pay attention here.
Ew, no, you would probably just go for any girl. Ew, no, you probably have so many girls all over you.
For some reason, we have music again, which is problematic. So I'll read it out on the screen. Girls when you're unemotional. You never open up. Girls when you're emotional. Ugh, that's such an ick. Girls when you're unemployed. All you do is sit there and just play video games. Girls when you're career driven. All you do is work and sit at your desk and I never get to see you. Girls when you're secure. You never ask where I am. Why don't you monitor my location? And girls when you're insecure. I can't be with a guy who's constantly checking my location. I need space. Why are you so controlling? You get the idea, right? Like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And that's just the reality of the life and the world that we live in today. I'll give you an example. Like, a lot of the times people, like the traditional conservatives, will often say, you want to go find a God-fearing woman that wants to have your children and be a stay-at-home mom. But the statistical data on divorce says that those women are the ones that are more likely to file divorce than the professional career women. And when they do, they're more likely to take more of your stuff because they've been at home as a stay-at-home mom, not working, and they technically don't have any skills. So while on paper and traditionally it seems like a good idea, that's the scenario that most guys get destroyed in through family court. You flip it on the other side and you go get yourself an equal, like someone who's on par with you. And she's a career-driven woman. She does well at work. She's getting promotions. She's climbing the corporate ladder. These women tend to resent men, especially when they advance quicker than the guy that they're with. If the guy's, like when they got together, they were equals making roughly the same amount of money. And they kind of moved in and they bought their first house together and put equal down payments in. And they shared the expenses of the furniture and the decorations and the chandeliers 50-50-50 all along the way. And let's say she's climbing the corporate ladder and she does better than him and he's kind of staying stagnant. These women tend to resent these guys. They tend to express a lot of contempt for them. But on the plus side, they don't get divorced as much as the stay-at-home moms, right? So it's kind of like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And that's why, my model is smart men don't marry. You just don't do it in an environment where you invite the state into your house where it's hostile and family law doesn't like men. That's just a better model. You can love a woman. You can have children with a woman. You can be committed to a woman. You just don't live in a way that looks like marriage to the government, right? That's, again, behind the narrative in my first book where I talk about why smart men don't marry. Again, that chapter is in there. You can also read that chapter absolutely for free on my X profile. It's quite good. You should go check it out. Everybody's, I've talked about girls in the manosphere, the manoswamp, as I've mentioned it and branded it now, being just like any other gal out there. It's mostly a grift. This showed up in my timeline earlier this week. I'm sure you guys have heard of this gal, Pearl. She's been around for a little bit now, and she uses many of the same sound bites. And she said over here, "White men, I beg you to take your country back. These black people and women are torturing us." And of course, you know, there she is with her ex-boyfriend. It's like, guys, I've said this many a times, they're grifters. It's not a question of if they are into the grift, it's to what degree. And I'll also say this. As much as you love hearing the stuff that I've covered and other guys in the past have covered as well, covered in pink and butterflies coming out of a woman's mouth in a high-pitched voice thinking that they're different, they aren't. They're exactly the same as the feminist woman with purple hair that says the patriarchy is oppressive and blah, blah, blah. They go through the divorce grinder. They will do the exact same thing that any other chick will do to enrich themselves and take advantage of the way family law works. And that's just how it is. If you believe anything else, you're gullible. You might as well go buy some swampland in Florida and think that you're going to make a vast fortune if you hold on to it for 20 years. You know what I'm saying, right? Are you unplugging and seeing the code in the matrix yet? Oh, okay. So we've got a tab here that highlights the way that child sex assaults and criminals are classified in the criminal system in the West. And I've seen this on different platforms many times now over the last couple of years. This is just a quick compilation video. I don't know who this dude is sipping on his beverage over here, but the opening caption reads, "White people commit more child sexual assault," in quotes. This is what the media portrays. And then let's have a look at the white people and how they're classified in the crime records. Let's just turn off the music again. As you know, sorry, I'm going to have to freeze it because it rips through so many. Eshan Mangal, listed as white. Amarish Singh Gohil, listed as white. These are all from court records, by the way. Crime, sexual battery, lewd, lascivious behavior. Sami Ishak, listed as white. Arun Sharma, listed as white. Crime, molestation of a child. Shorba Joshi, listed as white. Crime, sexual battery. Skipping through a few. Karim Chan Jan, listed as white. Again, in the same category. Giselle Patel, listed as white. Crime, sexual battery. You get the idea, right? Do I need to read them all? It's a very common sort of thing now that where it's like, so they can skew the data so the media can portray, the average Joe, the average white, straight white male, as being the evil perpetrator of crimes. That's how they do it. They'll go and classify them that way. Somebody dug up the classification for the Tate brothers, and they're half black, half white, and they were listed as white, when they were registered through the system. So you get the idea there. What do we got here? Oh, speaking of which, with the media, here's another one that we've got reserved over here. Again, all of this is to help you guys understand how the world operates, and so you can unplug from these comforting lies with the cold hard truth. The media is a propaganda machine. And this is a clip that shows charts over here with Black Lives Matter. It says here Black Lives Matter is bitching about this number over here, which is blacks killed by whites, which is a very small per capita percentage. Then you got whites killed by blacks, which is higher. Then you've got whites killed by whites, which is higher. And then you've got blacks killed by blacks, which is significantly higher on a per capita basis. But again, to be a victim, you need an oppressor. If one doesn't exist, you manufacture one, and then you sprinkle it with some propaganda and you let it run, and that's what typically happens. Understand that this is just the way the things operate in the world, and this is how the media, this is how the regulators and the lawmakers, this is how they want to portray. Like, there is a war on straight white males. It's a fact at this point. I don't think it can be disputed as you start to see all this evidence sort of compile and pile up over time. Mayor Mondami from New York City. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but he was talking about this a few months ago. I mentioned it in an earlier podcast. He's talking about running city-run tax-funded grocery stores, and he's got an announcement over here, which I think that we should have a look at together. I think we can play the audio. There's probably no music in the background on this. Let's go full screen here so we can see it a little bit better. Boom.
Here's how it will work. Once a month, our 5 city-run grocery stores will set prices for this core set of goods at 30% below typical retail prices. No exceptions, no gimmicks. The savings will last for the entire month. That means no weekly fluctuations nor sticker shock at the checkout line. Here's how...
You notice he's surrounded by other women, female politicians. We'll talk a little bit more about that with some other slides.
Will work. Once a month, our 5 city-run grocery stores will set prices for this core set of goods at 30% below typical retail prices. No exceptions, no gimmicks. The savings will last for the entire month. That means no weekly fluctuations nor sticker shock at the checkout line.
So, I mean, these things have been around for a while. They've been called food banks before. Now the city is going to run them as retail grocery stores. New York City, they're going to create 5 of these things. They're going to stock the shelves with produce and groceries and all the goods that people need. The profit margins on this kind of stuff isn't that big. Like usually, like as an example, the end of the aisles, they're called loss leaders. And what they'll do is they'll stack things like, I don't know, tin cans of something that they want to move. Let's say it's Coca-Cola or something like that. And it'll say, clearance $6.99, right? Regular price $9.99. When they have these loss leaders at the end of the aisle to pull you into the store, they're basically selling them like below cost or at cost usually. And that drags people in. So they put it in their buggy and then they go around, the grocery store and they get the rest of the stuff. And the idea is the grocery store makes money off the other things that they buy. The margins aren't that big in general for produce and for groceries. I know that over the years, with inflation, they've started to jack up prices. Like, you used to be able to buy a watermelon at Costco for like $4 or $5. And since, the COVID scamdemic, they've been jacking that up. Now I think a watermelon's like $16 at Costco. That's just how things go. But what he's saying essentially is we're going to discount the stuff by 30% and essentially give it away below cost or at cost. And you can go buy your stuff over there. This is how you bankrupt a city. And I've got another tab where I talk about like the welfare state in a little bit. We're sort of get to that and navigate through them as we do. But this Mondami guy, he is going to be a strong contributing factor to the downfall of the city of New York. I don't know why people voted for him. I mean, I've said this before, watch for voting patterns in certain countries, cities, states, provinces, because that's what people want. Like that's what they're after. That's what they're trying to support. That's the narrative that they're trying to enforce. And, the more you think about it, the more time you spend on it, the more it expands. Like that welfare state idea. It's like they don't want people to be independent. They don't want to help people solve problems and learn how to make their own money and start their own businesses. Instead, if they have them dependent on a welfare state, then they have your control because you essentially are not going to vote for lower taxes or the removal of free programs and free shit because you're a brokey and they want you to be a brokey. People think, this is so good, and they clap, and everybody's going to be able to afford groceries and food. And I mean, you either teach a man to fish and he can fish for life, or you give him the fish till you take it away, and then you're going to run into problems. But you end up giving people free stuff that causes a totally different set of problems. And I'll get into that in a second. One other slide. We got another one of those coming up as well too. It's trust me, this is not going to end well for them. This one over here, we got a note on a date, and it says up at the top, our first date went great, but apparently she spent the night with an FWB. So the date went great, just not for him. Let me just read this over here to you. I don't need to put up on the screen. It says, yesterday, a 24-year-old male, had a great first date with a gal I know through some mutual friends, some extended social circle. And I've been crushing on her for a while. We had exchanged glances and the vibes were good. So I finally pulled the trigger and asked her out after we had some good conversations. We had a great time on the pier. We ate, we played some games. This is a little embarrassing to admit, but I got her flowers for the first date. After I gave them to her, I told her I put them in my car so she didn't have to carry them around and be embarrassed. She said, but I want to carry them around. The chemistry was really strong, and we both said that we're looking for something serious. We held hands, and she even let me sneak a kiss at the end of the night. The guy's very proud of himself at this point. She texted me in the morning that she didn't want to seem desperate, but she really hoped that she could see me again very soon. This morning, I told one of our mutual friends that I finally took her out on a date. And they told me a guy had spent the night with her last night after the date. He apparently came over late, went over to her room, and left early in the morning. And I'm told they have some sort of a casual situationship, a situation, if you will, where he basically comes over and smashes a couple times a week. Obviously, she isn't my girlfriend, and I really don't have the right to be upset, but geez, this is kind of putting me off on her. I'm wondering if I should continue dating her or not. How should I handle this? Is this a huge red flag? I appreciate some advice. Well, let me share another story. I had a guy call in on one of my podcasts once. By the way, the call-in link, it's pinned to the top of YouTube. Let me grab it over here real quick. Copy. Call in and ask a question. Call in and ask on any show, guys. I love the call-in component. If you got anything for me, I'll drop it in all the chat. I had a guy call in once, and he was sharing the story. He said, I had a great date with this gal. Very similar story. We did all the good stuff, went out to dinner. She was very nice to me. I like her. She likes me. I dropped her off. I was a gentleman. I took her home, and then I was driving, back to my place, and I had noticed that she had left her jacket in the back of my car. Now, he said at this point, he had just gotten on the highway. It was only 10 minutes, took the next exit ramp, looped back, basically went back to her house because he wanted to give her the jacket. He felt bad that it was in his car. So 15, 20 minutes had passed since he had dropped her off, he figured. He goes, by the time I got to her house, there was another car in the driveway, and there was already another guy at her house with her. This is a very similar story. This is the Friends with Benefits. And I understand this is hard for guys. Like, this is a difficult pill for men to understand. In the world, there's really two kinds of guys. There's three. I'll explain the third in a second. There's two kinds of guys that women will go out with. There's the guys that she has GBD for, genuine burning desire. There's a chapter in it, my first book. I explain it in detail. And these are the men that women pine for. They'll chase them. They'll pursue validational intimacy with them. They'll forgo the relationship. He'll tell her, I'm not looking for anything serious. I just want to have fun. I just want to be an FWB. And she'll give that to him because she genuinely likes the guy that much. She'll forgo the dates, the dinners, making him wait 5, 8, 10 expensive dates, 3 months, whatever it happens before intimacy happens. She'll go right to that right away. That's the GBD. That's the alpha seed part of the hypergamy equation. Then there's the guys that she's indifferent to. Okay. The guys that take her out for dinners, that buy her flowers, that come back and return the jacket to her because she left it in the back seat of the car accidentally, but they don't get the play. They're forced to wait. They're the nice guys. These are usually the guys that women marry. And I've said, and I talk about it in my second book, again, Top Shelf Man. There's several points in the book where I cover it, where I believe one of the biggest problems that contributes to the divorce rate is women don't usually marry their first choice. Their first choice doesn't want to marry them. Their first choice is a Friends with Benefits. Their first choice is the guy that, buys her a bag of Skittles on her birthday at best, if anything. I talk about the Skittles man in my book. There's an actual story about that. The third kind of guys are the guys that are invisible. You're on fire. She has a glass of water in her hand. She'll drink it and just walk away. She doesn't notice you. You're invisible to her. Okay. That's the third kind of guy. But there's two main guys that she'll engage with. You never want to be the guy that she's indifferent to. If she's indifferent to you, there's something that you're doing wrong. That's why, again, it's in a ticker right now below me. It says test.theunpluggedalpha.com. Take that test. It's a self-assessment. It'll take you a few minutes. It's 7 pages, 10 questions per page. and it'll spit out a spider graph at the end, and it'll tell you where you stand on those 7 spokes of a high value man. It'll tell you essentially where you need to do the work, where you're lacking. Okay. It's very straightforward. It's not that complex. If you want to get her best, if you want to get the validational intimacy, not the transactional as well, I'm going to make you wait 3 dates, or I'm going to make you wait 3 months, or I only do this after 12 dates or something like that. That's more of the transactional element to it. Whereas the validational component is right away. There's no waiting. There's no rules, nothing. Like I've said before, women break rules for men that they deem to be alpha, and they make rules for men that they deem to be beta. So you can call it whatever you want. Men that have GBD4 alphas, men that they're indifferent to, the betas, right? The plugged in beta sort of thing. And then there's, of course, the invisibles that they never see anyway. It doesn't matter. You're never going to talk to them. You understand what I'm saying here, guys? And, you know, an answer to that could potentially be, you know, having guys meet each other as a slag move dumper sort of thing. But, and that's true. But you want to be the guy on the top shelf or as in close proximity to the top shelf as possible, so that you're like, choose women that choose you, if you see what I'm saying. Okay. You understand? Now we've talked about committees before and how women make a lot of decision via committee. Sorry, I got to get, before I get to that committee reel, let me just, I'm going to run the ad reel. I'll be back in 2 minutes. I got to get something else to drink. My throat's getting a little croaky. I'll be back in 2. This episode is sponsored by yours truly. Gentlemen, if you're new here, your starting point is to get on my email list and join 50,000 other readers. Just scroll down and opt in over here with your information. And that's where you can download the free chapters on the 21 red flags to avoid and the 16 green flags to seek in long-term relationships. Just navigate to entrepreneursandcars.com/red-flags and get started there. Beyond that, there's book 1, The Unplugged Alpha, which has sold over 250,000 copies and summarizes the way the world and women truly work. And then there's book 2, recently released, The Top Shelf Man, which takes you far deeper down the rabbit hole and is about how the top 5% of men get everything they want out of life and women. Both books are very highly rated. I guarantee that you'll love them both. You can find them on Amazon. Now, brothers, if you like me and you take what you put in your body very seriously, you're going to want to use the Unplugged Alpha supplement line. It's the obsession with engineering higher absorption rates that sets my line apart from the others. You want to make sure that you absorb as much of the supplements as possible, so you don't end up peeing out expensive urine and wasting your money. My supplement line is made in the United States from the highest quality ingredients, and unlike your typical cheap supplements in plastic bottles that originated from China, only quality supplements ship in dark glass bottles to keep your supplements fresher, longer, and don't seep endocrine-disrupting microplastics into your supplements that end up in your body. You can filter all products by your goals, including testosterone support, estrogen metabolism, fat burning, sleep support, and performance. Just visit theunpluggedalpha.com/shop and use the subscribe and save option to get 10% off your recurring supplement orders. Or check out my brand new testosterone bundle and save as much as 18% when you stack them all together. And lastly, if you've enjoyed my books and video content, you're going to absolutely love the School of Unplugging, which is my private community for men. Inside, you'll find over 50 hours of never before seen videos in a private classroom setting that'll teach you how to level up and apply the 7 spokes of a high value man to your life so that you can get the results that you're looking for. You can just copy and paste all the simple formulas to success on wealth creation, improving your looks, status, captivation, game, frame, and so much more with other men on their own unplugging journey. There's also a well-organized discussion board, meetups in real life, weekly Zoom calls that are recorded, held by me and my team of experts, all for a monthly membership that costs less than a cup of coffee, and there is brand new content being added every single month. The calendar tab makes spotting exactly what it is that you're looking for very simple, and all you do is you add it to your own calendar. See the description below for a link to everything I just mentioned above, or visit richcooper.ca, and on the courses tab, you can navigate to the School of Unplugging. Guys, make sure you check out the rest of my personal website and everything else, or to request a private one-on-one consultation with me. Now let's get on with the show. All right, we're back, baby. So what we're talking about, committees. Yeah. I'm going to play another video clip for you here. And there's 2 elements to this. The questioning is going to divide the women amongst two categories. So watch the questioning and watch where they move. The other thing that I want you to pay very, very close attention to, and I've said this before, women make a lot of decision via committee. When it comes to things like marriage, divorce, who they're going to date, who they're going to become, involved with an FWB, where they're going to travel, there's not a lot of independent thought. Okay, they're often going to look around to their girlfriends, to their family, to their moms, to their sisters and stuff like that. So I want you to pay attention to those two things. We'll have a conversation about that once this plays out. And share this tab. Here we go. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Does that get, I don't know. Here we go. Check this out.
Men over 40 or men under 30?
Oh man, I gotta mute this again because of the music. So I'll read out the questioning. Now, you notice how they're all looking at each other to see where everybody is. You're going to start to see them pull their friends back, or they're going to do like this. You're going to see instances of that through this. Just pay attention to that. Sorry, just going to back it up so you can watch it unfold. Right. This question is wealthy, no humor on the left, funny but broke on the right. Again, watch how they all look at each other to sort of establish, do we all agree on this? Are you sure you want to be there? Watch that behavior. See that? She get pulled in by her friends. Old money, self-made. Now, this one's dumb. These women over here, they lack guidance, which is not that uncommon, not that unusual. A woman would be smart to choose a guy that's self-made, because a man that's self-made, if something happens and they lose it, they're the kind of person that can go and make it again. Old money guys, usually if they make a mistake along the way and they lose it, they never make it back. So this one here says short king or tall with red flags on the right. Right. Again, they all look at each other. They're trying to coordinate, with one another. The ones on the left are pretending that a short king with no red flags is a better choice, but we all know what women actually do. The actual choices are always different from the management of image. I've said this before, and I made this point very clear after championing in the ladies' night show. Reputation management is really important for women. Really, really important. They don't want to damage their reputation. I think it's ingrained in their DNA. They have to make sure that they're viewed positively by the world, because if there's a negative imagery that's associated with them, it can be very, very harmful, because men will pass on them. This is why you get the notion of slut shaming. Slut shaming is really not done by men towards women that often. It's mostly women towards other. Oh, you're going out with Becky over there. She's such a turbo hoe. Or like, why would you do that? You can do better. You should choose me, Brad. Sort of thing. And that's what the origin of slut shaming really is. But you get the idea. Let's watch it unfold again. Yeah, that's a real good point. They should have done this whole thing with blindfolds on, right? So they couldn't see each other doing it. But I still think they would have probably looked under the blindfold at the feet and stuff like that and watched the movement. This one here says divorced with 4 kids or never married at 45. The ones that go to the left will be the single moms. Not really relevant, but, just watch it. Most of them went to the right. This one here says jealous or emotionally unavailable. Hang on a sec. Let's just back this up. I want to see this unfold again. So the women, looks like 2 went to emotionally unavailable. And then the vast majority, look, they're all laughing too. And the vast majority of them on the left prefer a jealous guy. So this one here says one soulmate, meaning the guy has one soulmate. And the one on the right is endless options, meaning there's lots of women in his orbit. That was interesting. There was only one that went for endless options. Again, this is what you'll see. Reputation management is so powerful. They know the camera's on. They know that they're being recorded. But what we know with 100% certainty is that women want what other women want. And I talk about this in Top Shelf Men. The surest way for a woman to establish the value of a man is that man being in close proximity to other beautiful women. And that's why you see a lot of these, very popular celebrities that have lots of gals in their orbit. And the women are okay with sharing those top shelf type of man. So again, reputation management when the camera's running is very different from the choices that women often make when the camera's not running. This one here says poor but deeply in love to the left, rich but no love to the right. A good chunk of them will go to the right. There you go. That one's being honest. Those ones are being honest. And look, you notice a lot of them are kind of in the middle and they're looking around going, I don't know where to go. Tell me where to go. Help me make this decision. Decisions are made by committee. Watch again. This one's actually very interesting because this is the most like indifferent, segregated. They're kind of like looking to each other for approval. Again, poor, deeply in love on the left, rich, but with no love at all. See, this is total bullshit. There's so much bullshit in this one. Look at it. They're pulling each other back. They're falling down. Hang on. We got to spend a minute on this one over here. Like the amount of women that went to poor but deeply in love versus rich but no love, that's not how women behave in reality. It is just not true. The vast majority of women will choose the wealthy guy who is mostly indifferent towards her over the broke boy who's deeply in love with her. There's lots of women that have been with broke boys that are deeply in love with them that they just walk away from eventually because love is not enough to keep that relationship together for her. Money is an important component of all relationships for women. So when you see the move to the left, poor but deeply in love, it's for reputation management so they don't look like a gold digger. The ones on the right that go to the right, the 3 or 4 that manage to do that, they just don't care. Left is dream husband, right is dream career. So this is interesting. This is the choice between a man that they would admire, that they would worship and want to enter his frame, or the choice of being a boss girl or a Becky. Let's see what happens next. Look at that. Hang on, let's back it up. It looks like it was about a 50-50 split, right? With, again, women in the middle indecisively looking around at each other, trying to figure it out. But you got your boss girls on the right, and you got the ones that are like, I'm okay with being a stay-at-home mom. Toxic love versus calm and boring love to the right. Now, I have a comment about this one. Calm, boring love will be chosen by the older women. All women have been through toxic love. They've all been in a situation where they're head over heels for a guy. They think about him all the time. They text and message him relentlessly. They tell him that they are in love with them. What can I make you to eat? Have you eaten yet? Hey, I was out shopping. I bought these boxers for you. They're thinking about the guy constantly. Usually by the time they get older and they've had a relationship with toxic love where the guy's kind of like indifferent, he doesn't really care, maybe he's running multiple women, that's when they start to move more towards calm but boring. Okay. But even that's not sticky enough to keep them around. That's like divorce juice, if I can put it that way. You just put that ingredient in the mixer and at some point it comes out later on down the road. Again, guys, you're not going to really find a winning solution to any of this. It's knowing the game, understanding the dynamics, and responding accordingly, but making sure that you develop yourself first, you create renown for yourself so that you've got the optionality, because most of your problems can be dealt with in the selection phase if you follow the guidance and the advice that's in the Top Shelf Man. I think that might be the last one. Again, these gals are like pulling on each other like it's going out of style here. Yeah, exactly. But he's a narcissist, right? It is what it is. You guys may have, so, you know, going back to a woke narrative here, you may have heard that there's a company called Cracker Barrel, very old company. It's been around for a while. Let me just put this up on the screen here. But they hired a woke female CEO recently. Let's just watch this clip over here.
Honestly, the feedback's been overwhelmingly positive that people like what we're doing. I'll give you another soundbite.
They did this redesign of the product to modernize it. If it ain't broke, you don't fix things. That's really what marketing teams need to understand. But then you get somebody like this and they're like, oh, we're going to hire somebody, pay them a lot of money, and they're going to hire a new marketing team and do some rebranding, and we got to get some more market share. But it's now the former CEO, but let's listen to what she had to say.
Honestly, the feedback's been overwhelmingly positive that people like what we're doing. I'll give you another soundbite. I actually happened to be in Orlando last week with all of our managers. We bring them together and every other year. And the number one question that I got asked, Michael, was, how can I get a remodel? When can I get a remodel? How do I get on the list?
Oh, really?
So because the feedback and the buzz is so good, not only from our customers, but from our team members. They want to work in a wonderful restaurant. So we're doing everything for our guests and our team members.
Well, Julie Messino, it's wonderful to have you here.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for answering those questions for all the Cracker Barrel fans out there. There's a lot of great changes.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Robin?
Can I get in writing that the peg game is going to stay?
The peg game is staying.
Okay.
So are the rocking chairs,
And the
fireplace, vintage decor. It's all there.
All right. Okay. Because that would be a deal breaker.
All right. Well, what happened here? Let's have a look. Cracker Barrel CEO Julie Messino is out a year after a $700 million rebrand that axed Uncle Herschel from the logo. This is the dude over here sitting in the chair by the barrel. Triggered a huge backlash, drew a Trump post telling the company to reverse, and wiped $100 million off its value in days. She said at the time, the feedback's been overwhelmingly positive, that people like what we're doing. He read later to Glenn Beck, I feel like I've been fired by America, she said. Replaced by David Dino, ex-CEO of Outback Parent, the old logo's already back. Well, it's honestly, guys, it's literally just like clockwork. That's just how it is. You know, you put a woke CEO in, they try to do some rebrand, like Jaguar did this, right? You know, we all saw what happened with Jaguar. What was it, about a year or two ago? They did that new rebrand commercial, and it's like they had all these troons sort of march out, like the worm people. Like, you can't tell if it's male, female, where they're from or anything. Like, they're just dressed in these weird clothes, and they try to like rebrand themselves as this sexy new chic brand with a weird looking pink square electric car. This is Jaguar, okay? This is Jaguar, okay? You know, such a cool, iconic British brand, and they screwed it up. And look where the company is now, right? They're scrambling to try to recapture market share and fix what the woke marketing team put together. I don't know. Look, man, let it play out however it plays out. It'll be an interesting evolution of many of these modern brands trying to test the marketplace with the woke ideology. And we saw what happened with Gillette. We saw what happened with Jaguar, Budweiser, when they hired Dylan Mulvaney as a spokesperson. You know, you can go right down the list. Every time they do this, it always seems to flop terribly for them. There is, I don't know, some kind of a social media influencer by the name of Yana. I don't know if you guys have heard of this chick. Let me throw it up on the screen here. We got a interesting clip here in an Uber talking to her Ukrainian driver, and I'm just like, I'm blown away. I can't believe people can be this dumb, but it's actually like their votes count as much as yours do. Okay, this is wild. Like, just watch this shit unfold here.
Where are you from?
I'm Ukrainian.
Oh, nice. Like London?
No, I'm Ukrainian from.
You can't really hear the guy, but she's like, where are you from? And he goes, Ukrainian. And she goes, oh, nice. London?
Ukraine.
Oh, I don't really know my geography.
Ukraine is like
I think this is a live stream with the the characters on the left. So I think she's trying to live stream this while she's in the Uber, when she's talking to this guy.
Ukraine is like Central Europe.
Oh,
You just said Ukraine is in Central Europe.
Russia. Like kind of like Russia?
Luckily, no.
Oh, no.
You said luckily no.
Oh, okay. Dang, I don't know. But yeah, I'm from America, though.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he knows that.
Not that you asked. I'm just saying. Yeah. So how do you like it there? A lot? Is it hot?
I mean, overall, it's nice.
Oh, they said they're at war. I did not know that.
She didn't know that Ukraine and Russia is at war for some reason.
They're at war? I'm so sorry. I did not know that. I apologize.
Between Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah. Okay, I'm so sorry. I did not know that. I don't know any geography, and maybe I should educate myself. But yeah, no, I did not know. Whoops. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Thick as a plank. Like, I don't know how these people operate.
I feel so bad. I did not know that. That's so disrespectful of me. I apologize. No, I really didn't know that. I'm so sorry. No, I feel so bad because that's actually serious. But I'm so sorry.
Accepted.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I don't want to make you uncomfortable. I did not mean to say that.
I mean, the guy's being polite to her, but it's like, I've flushed turds down the toilet with a higher IQ than what this chick is exhibiting. I can't, and they command an audience, and an audience that follows them for their fashion advice or their worldly travel sort of vlogging style or whatever it is that they're doing. These are the people that are saying, oh, we have to be more embracing and inclusive, and let's open the borders, and we need to give people free shit, and let's have city-run grocery stores. The people that say repeal the 19th Amendment are right. But the question that I have for you is, what's your plan? How are you going to execute on that? I'm not in disagreement. I really am not. Anyway, I got somebody here waiting to hop in, it looks like, and join the show and ask a question. So let me grab Nick over here, and then we'll continue on with these tabs in a moment. Nick, how you doing? Looks like you're in your garage, man.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, what's up?
Hey, good. Yeah, this
What do you got for me?
microphone's been shitty on and off sometimes. Say, big fan of the show. I called in probably about like a month ago.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't really have an actual question. I was on the spot. So I did think of an actual question for this one because I'm kind of, I'm not a stay-at-home dad. I have a part-time business where I go out a few nights a week. We do commercial cleaning, and I have a few staff members. So I'm probably working like 15 hours a week. It's mostly just, I hire some grunts out to do a lot of the work, and then I just oversee a lot of the shit.
Sure.
But I'm home a lot. But we have a newborn. She's 5 months, going on 6 in like a week or something.
Mhm.
And my wife works full-time at a hospital. She does 312s. So on those 3 days, I'm kind of like stuck at home with the daughter, and I'm watching her, and I'm just wondering, like, what's a good use of time? Because like the kid is like, right now it's like a lot of work. Like I put her down, and I may have like an hour and a half to 2 hours for like nap times and shit.
Mhm.
But otherwise, like my whole day is fucked, you know? So I'm
Well,
just like, I'm trying to
you
figure
do-
out.
Sorry, go ahead. Carry on.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much. I'm just trying to figure out like a best use of time. I almost feel like I'm wasting time, even though I'm spending time with my daughter. You know, I've been so like productive for so long, and it's just I'm not used to it type of thing.
I mean, dude, I hate to say it, but you're doing women's work. That's
Yeah, it kind of feels that way. Yeah.
that's the job of the mom. That's really what they want. That's why they want to have kids. They want to enjoy that moment of being the mom and the parent and dealing with the baby and the goo goo gaga, and they'll take photographs and post it all over Facebook and show the world what a great mom there are. But I mean, like, you're not really doing yourself much in the way of a favor of improving your position and your frame in the relationship by letting, well, I shouldn't use the term by letting her go to work, but with her working and bringing home the bacon while you stay home several days of the week looking after the kid, like, how much time are you spending doing the mommy work versus her?
She's still doing more overall.
Yeah.
Yeah, because on the 4 days, I'm just like, look, I don't mind helping out and stuff, and maybe I'll feed the kid once during those days. But yeah, I would say she still watches.
But I
her
mean, you're doing it
more.
3 days a week, is what you said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, somebody here said in the comment, like, bond with your daughter, bro. But like, to be honest with you, under the age of 2, 3, 2 for sure. They have no memory of any of that time whatsoever. Like that's like women's work at the end of the day. My advice would be focus on the business and double down on building something with some value that you can expand on. Where are the grandparents? Can you get the grandparents to look after the kid, during those 3 days?
Not really. One of the days consistently, they're already watching. My half brothers got kids, they're kind of already devoted to watching them.
Sure.
And then the other 2, maybe like 1 day a week I could. I don't know if they'd want to do it consistently though. I mean, they're older and they're about 45 minutes one way, and
yeah. What about her side?
they're even farther away. But here's the thing. So it's I offered for her just to stay home and me just be 100% like the financial provider.
Yeah.
But it's almost a shame because she's got a 4-year RN degree. She's been working at this hospital now for going on a decade. She works in the operating room. What's up?
It pays well.
It does. Yeah, she's a 6-figure earner. I'm doing probably like 60 to 80K just working super part-time running this business. But the potential obviously for me to scale my business and like quadruple my income is there. The thing I'm having struggles with is, number one, she's really good at her job. She's got a lot of coworkers that like her. It's just kind of a shame for her to like hang it up in a way. I don't know if that means anything or not, but number 2 is like, we don't need a huge amount of money. Like we own everything free and clear. Like this car behind, like everything's free and clear. We paid the house off, all the cars, the Maserati behind me is paid for. Our 2 daily drivers. There's no school debt, no nothing.
What is that? A Ford or Maserati? I can't really tell.
No, it's the Gran Turismo. I was gonna mount it somewhere better, but this is old shit I'm using. I'm surprised even this headset's working good. I gotta update some stuff out here. But anyways, so like I'm out here in I wish I could show you. It's a whole like man gym. But anyways, if we make like $100,000, like we're doing good.
At the end of the day, the baby stuff is mom's work. That's my take on it. I'm not going to change my view and opinion on it. I think that your time is more valuable and it should be spent on building yourself and building your business. You probably have weight to lose. You probably have money that you could make. The problem is that she's a good earner. She wants to work and she wants to bring home some of the bacon. She wants to do her share. The good news is if it doesn't work out, because she's such a strong earner, you're not going to lose anything. She's probably going to end up paying you. That's the good news. But
in
my
terms
advice
of like
would be
if we separated or something?
But my advice is always for guys like goo goo gaga shit is for the mom. Especially the first few years. People say bond with a kid, dude, man, you can do that. Like, read the kid a story at night, even though they're not going to understand shit, but you can take them to the park and you can do some, daddy kid sort of stuff from time to time, but your time should primarily be spent on building yourself up and building your business. That's what I would be doing, and having mom or one of the grandparents or whatever they figure it out doing the baby stuff. That's typically the best route to go for you as a guy. The benefit to where you are right now is if it doesn't work out, she'll probably end up paying you.
Fair.
Make sense?
Yeah. Thanks, man. I get it.
All right, man. See ya. All right. Let me drop the call-in link. You guys can drop your questions in if you want. You guys may have heard of this country called Poland in Europe. The guy that's the representative in the European Parliament, his name is Dominic, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. It's an interesting one, but his soundbite is always "be like Poland," right? And Poland has a very good policy when it comes to immigration. They don't accept immigrants. They don't want them in the country. They want it to remain a Christian country. They want it to remain predominantly Polish. They're okay, and I've seen him do the interviews. They're okay with bringing in skilled immigrant labor that's vetted properly, that the country needs. But they're very harsh on illegal immigration. And they just passed a bill allowing the Border Patrol guards to shoot at illegal migrants, which is what it really should be. It says this new legislation will allow the border and other places to be protected even better, even more efficiently, while also increasing the safety of the Polish soldier. This is Poland's president that has made this statement. Typically, when somebody tries to invade your country, you're supposed to protect it. That's not the model that most modern Western countries use throughout most of Europe, throughout North America, inclusive of the United States and Canada. It's let them in, let them invade. They can come in for whatever reason they want, and let's give them free shit. I don't understand, like, in Canada, for example, I don't understand this notion or the idea, because Canada's in a recession right now. I don't understand this notion that it keeps writing checks to Ukraine. They just made an announcement in the past week that they're writing a check to Pakistan. And it's like, you got your own domestic problems. You can't figure out a trade deal with the United States. Carney's always having a bickering fight with Trump, or Trump's having a bickering fight with the provincial premiers. Ford, for example, is doing some stupid shit. And it's like, Poland's just a place that makes sense to me. If I was Polish, I'd be very proud of, my country and, where I would live. But it's unique and different in a world today where it's like common sense is no longer common. Common sense in the past would dictate you have a border, it's on the fucking map, you defend it. If somebody tries to invade or cross that border that you're defending, and it's in an illegal fashion, they're not passing through legal means and paths, trying to immigrate through legal means and paths. I've mentioned this before. When my family immigrated from England to Canada back in the 70s, my dad had to accumulate a certain number of points. It was based on a point system. You got points if you spoke fluent English. You got points if you had a certain amount of money that you were bringing to the country. You got points if you were married. You got points if you had children. You had got points if you had valuable skills. And it was a weighting system, right? Like valuable skills were more important than having children, right? Sort of thing. But all of that, they just threw out the window. They just said, fuck it, we don't care. You want to come? Let's go. Come on in. Let's have a party. Here's a free cell phone. Here's some accommodation. Here's a housing. But Poland's actually smart. We'll see how this experiment unfolds over the next couple of decades, where things go. But it's not looking good for most of the West anyway. Let me grab a call in over here. I got Theodore. Let's start with him before we continue on with these slides. Theodore, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Rich. So I had two questions. There was one about the living apart and raising kids, and the other one was maybe the more recent was about, did you see the Myron Fresh and Fit and MLD presentation about fat women in the United States, basically? So
no, I'm not interested in anything that MLD has to say. He's a dipshit.
Okay, well, the TLDR is that 1% of women are between 18 and 35 and not overweight. That is
okay.
BMI about 25.
Yeah, the average weight of American women is something like 170 pounds now, or whatever it is.
So you just basically, you got everybody fighting. This is the fertile years women. So unless you're like really into non-fertile years women, then
well, look, man,
all men are actually attracted to women like
there's this narrative going around that women are getting fatter. Like they're fatter than any other time in history. Sure, we all agree on that. But as a guy, if you want to be spoiled for choice and have better optionality, you ascend to the top shelf and you only deal with the attractive fit ones. You just ignore the fatties. So to me, the fatties are invisible. Like I see them, I know they're there, but I just ignore them, right? Like they're not interesting. What was the second question?
And then you get GBD from all the fit young ones.
Well, you choose women that choose you, right? I'm not worried about trying to be somebody's type, right? What I'm looking for is choosing women that are already choosing me.
These 1% are women. I guess I assume the problem's not as bad in Canada.
No, there's fat girls everywhere. There's fat girls everywhere.
But still, you're saying that people, guys are gonna, all guys or guys that follow you or the guys that work on themselves, they're gonna have top 1% women with GBD for them. Is that a reason?
If you've ascended to the top shelf and you've done the work and you've leveled up on the 7 spokes, you have optionality. Yes, that's correct.
I mean, like with hypergamy, you're talking about you need to be the 0.1% guy. I'm just saying, it's kind of slim pickings there. And
where do you live? In what city?
I live in the American South.
There's a lot of fat women in the city you live in?
There's a lot of fat women in America.
Yeah,
So
but
he
I
was
mean, there's
talking about-
places in America where there's not as many fat women. Like you can go to Arizona. Scottsdale's got lots of fit women, right?
Okay, all right. There's a lot of skinny women in Miami, but there's also a lot of sugar babies.
Sure. I didn't say Miami though. I said Scottsdale.
LA, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I'm just kind of wondering, like, so you think it's not a hopeless cause. You think it's you know, that you're gonna get this 1% woman who's gonna have GBD for you, and it's always.
Is that what you're taking from this data point that was presented? Is that it's a hopeless cause?
No, I'm just saying, like, is that a reasonable expectation, or is that a reasonable expectation for your top 5% man, right?
Yeah,
that you're gonna have this.
Yeah, I've said this many times. I mean, if you ascend to the top shelf, your optionality opens. Have you taken the self-assessment?
No, I didn't do it on your website. Sorry.
Yeah, take it, man. Test.theunpluggedalpha.com. Take it and you'll see where you are on the 7 spokes and what work you got to do. The other thing too is, like, you know, your location. If you're in a demographic that sucks, like you're clearly in good shape. If you're in a demographic that sucks, then move to a better demographic where there's fewer fat women and more fit women. You understand?
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're in New York City, that's a better city to be in for a man.
I wouldn't go to New York City. That wouldn't be my first choice.
It has a lot of skinny women because they have to walk all the time.
Sure. Yeah. But they're also very liberal too.
Right. I agree. Don't buy property, rent. But I'm just you're the one that's telling me to move towns to a place where there's a lot of skinny women. I'm just trying to spitball a place that would have a lot of skinny women. The male female ratio is a little bit off in New York City relative to the rest of the country. Silicon Valley is a bad place to be dating if you're a man, and New York City is a bad place to be dating if you're a woman. But anyways.
Okay, thanks, Theodore. I don't understand. Sometimes people fucking call in and they ask some weird shit, man. It's like fucking weird. How do you handle people trying to invade? Let's deal with the next one over here. So we got another clip post. This one's titled, I believe my boyfriend, 30-year-old female is writing this, who's 37, might dump me after a comment I made last Saturday about how I got pregnant. Let's get into this. Last Saturday, me and people from work had dinner and a party afterwards to say goodbye to a coworker who was moving to a different branch on the other side of the country. After the restaurant, many of us brought our boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, and wives, agreed to keep on partying. With time, I got a bit drunk. I've said this before, guys. Alcohol is a truth serum. If somebody is alcohol and money is a truth serum. If you give somebody a lot of money and or a lot of alcohol, you'll find out what they're really made of. Okay, like you'll see what they spend money on, what they have to say. Anyway, so this group goes out drinking. They get drunk. And at one point, I was outside with a few coworkers that smoke. We were talking about a bad decision while being drunk. And at one point, I said something like, I got one of my daughters made in a nightclub bathroom and the other one on the beach one night. In our language, it just sounds very ugly and irresponsible. I'm not sure what language that was, but clearly she's speaking a native tongue at that point, maybe Spanish, I don't know, Latina. Anyway, my daughters are from 2 different men, and they both fled after they knew I was pregnant. So she got knocked up in a bathroom and the other one on a beach. He didn't hear it because he was inside with the guys, but one of my coworkers told him, a woman, and I believe she did it because she wants him, and this way she knew that she would hurt our relationship. I've said this before as well, and I'm going to recite it again. Nobody hates women more than other women. If women can eliminate competition and slip it and slide and go and take something that they want, they will do it without any kind of remorse. Nobody hates women more than other women. Women love to steal other women's guys. You know, Will's talked about this before. You know, the fact that there's already a attachment there's already a woman that's involved in a guy's life makes a guy more attractive. This is the reason why women would rather date a married man than a brokey that lives in his mom's basement. Anyway, he didn't hear it because blah, blah, blah. He is a widower and has a 5-year-old daughter, and he is the opposite of what I used to be: calm, reliable, trustworthy, cheerful, and a great father to his child. I can't believe I may lose him for something like this. We've been dating for 6 months. I'm in love with him, but alcohol took the best of me, and I behaved like my old self that night, and I talk like I used to talk. I made an ass of myself. He went on a work travel. Sorry, he went away on a work travel on Monday and arrived today and told me he wants us to talk this afternoon, and I fear he might dump me. How can I convince him I am no longer that person, that I've changed? I mean, basically TLDR, she gets knocked up in a club bathroom, happens again with a different guy on a beach. Both fathers dipped on her, accidentally mentions this in front of her new boyfriend's friends. I can't believe he would leave me over this. I've changed. The vast majority of your problems, gentlemen, with chicks should be dealt with in a selection phase. You figure out what they're made of. You give somebody enough time, they will tell you who they are. How long were they dating for? Was it 5 months, she said? After we work party. It was like something like 5 or 6 months, wasn't it? Anyway, you give somebody enough time. This is why you've got a vetting phase. You give somebody enough time, they will tell you exactly who they are. You will understand exactly what they're made of. Get them drunk. Get them drunk. You know, you want to see what they're all about? Get them drunk. Let them go outside, talk to the people. Word will get back to you. That's just how things fucking work, man. You cannot hide your past. Even if it's not all over the internet with your travel vlog stitched together with all the guys you rate from your travels around the world, you will tell on yourself eventually. And that's why you always give yourself a good vetting period. You always give yourself some good time before you take a woman seriously. This is the key, men, so that you don't invite chaos. I hope that he dumps this loser because look, I've already it's covered. It's covered. Unplugged Alpha, it's covered. Okay, it's covered. Stay away from single moms. Don't do it. I've done it. Trust me, it's stupid. It's one of the dumbest things that I've done. But one that's gotten knocked up in a nightclub bathroom and on a beach with 2 guys that dipped on her, loser. Get rid of him. Move on. I've routinely spoken about the scamdemic that went down over the years, gentlemen. It is a horrible thing that too many people fell for. And again, you know, one of the things I learned, so one of the things that you'll establish and understand as you kind of like season yourself as a man and you go through life and you deal with challenges, there's always going to be some kind of a lawsuit that comes your way when you run a business. I've been an entrepreneur for, I don't know, 25, 30 years now. And one of the things that happened when I was talking to one of my lawyers once, he said to me, the truth always finds a way, or the evidence always finds a way of coming to you eventually. That clarifies the fog of war. You know, he's basically saying with conflicts, when you've got opposition, when you've got challenges in your business, in your life, there's always an uncertainty. You're like, okay, wait, what happened? How did that go down? What was it that unfolded there truthfully? Because there's always confusion. It's like a fog of war. And he said to me, he goes, you know, the evidence and the truth will always find its way in your lap. And he's 100% right. It always has in the past. And I knew this was going to happen with a scamdemic, but I got this little clip over here. I want to play it for you because, again, as more time passes, you know, with this Fauci character and all the nonsense that went down, more and more clarifies. Pay attention here.
All 22 of the chronic disease categories, every single one, they were higher in prevalence in the vaccinated children, including cancer, autism, neurodevelopmental disorders, with like 12.
I think Peter McCullough and Robert Malone, both doctors. I had Peter McCullough on my podcast, by the way, during the scamdemic, and YouTube took that down for medical misinformation. The most research published fucking doctor in the world. Apparently he's medical misinformation. They took that down and they struck my channel over it. But this is what he's talking about. Like, all this research is starting to show that all this nonsense that they're shoving down everybody's throats, and they especially did it during the scamdemic, is unnecessary and it's harmful to children and development.
Disorders were like 12 times higher. Autoimmune diseases, skin disorders, everything under.
They need to lock Fauci up. He's such a piece of shit. I can't believe, like, Biden pardoned this guy, but he's just an absolute piece of human trash.
The son, learning disabilities, speech delays, tics, ADHD.
You ask teachers now what percentage of children they have in their classroom in elementary school that have special needs, and it is incredibly high. I remember in elementary school, we had maybe like one kid out of the entire grade. If you had like 4 classrooms with 30 kids per classroom, 120 kids, there might have been like one kid with a developmental, like special needs. Now in most classrooms, it's like 20 or 25 kids in elementary school, and they've got something like 5, 6, or 7 kids with special needs. And they're saying that this is where a lot of this is actually coming from.
18,000 children tracked from birth to average age 10. We just looked at the raw proportions. These childhood vaccinations that we've been just injecting.
Sorry, I'm just going to mute the music and I'll just read it to you because I think it might be a problem again. Injecting unlimited amounts into our children have significantly contributed to America's chronic disease epidemic. And this is through the McCullough Foundation. So Peter McCullough. And they have all the data posted over here. Autism's up 180%, cancer up 54%, neurodevelopmental disorders 1,254%, autoimmune disease 1,120%, motor disability 810%, speech disorder 803%, mental health disorders 696%, asthma 553, development. You can go right down the list, right? ADHD only in vaccinated children, diabetes, brain dysfunction, behavioral disability, learning disability, intellectual disability, tics, psychological disability. Like you keep going right down the list. This is all coming out of the McCullough Foundation. McCullough is not a dipshit. He knows exactly what the fuck he's talking about. Okay. You can go watch any of the interviews that are still out there that they haven't taken down. Trust me. It's just a thing that a lot of people back then, 2021, I remember they would call in on my podcast. You can go back to the old podcast. You'll probably find them. The recordings are all still up. And they'd be like, Rich, I'm healthy. I don't want to take this thing. My employer's trying to force it down my throat. Otherwise, they're going to fire me. I got a mortgage to pay. My wife's already taken it. She's telling me that I got to take it. We're not going to be able to see our family over the holidays because they want everybody, to be vaccinated, sort of thing. And it's like a lot of these people, they were sort of strong-armed even though they didn't want it. I was one of the few people to say, fuck no, I'm good, And like here in Canada, they put a lot of like very strong restrictions in place, travel restrictions. I didn't travel anywhere for a couple of years. I remember there was a couple of my community events that I couldn't travel to because I didn't have the right paperwork yet. I didn't have the proof of vaccination. I got the proof of vaccination at some point. Remember, proof is different from actual vaccination, but you get the idea, right? And that put a big monkey wrench in everybody's lives. And a lot of people, they bent the knee. And I was the one that stood there the whole time. I said, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Now I understand that some people, it's like, okay, you got a mortgage, you got a family, you got children. If you don't pay the bills, then there's going to be some severe problems. So they figured, what the hell? It's just a needle. What's the big deal? What's the worst that can happen? Well, the data's coming out. Listen to guys like Peter McCullough, Robert Malone. These doctors know what they're talking about. It's an absolute travesty, man. It's just a horrible, horrible thing. All right, let me grab this call in over here from Alfredo. Hopefully we got a good question. Alfredo, what's up, buddy? What do you got for me?
Hey, brother. How are you doing? Can you hear me pretty good?
Good, man. Good. What do you got?
Good. So I got a question for you about mental health.
Yeah.
I was going through just kind of struggling at a lot of things, pretty much every aspect.
What do you mean by mental health, though? You're talking about anxiety, depression? Like, what are we talking about here?
Well, it got to the point where it was like suicidal. Like, it was very bad. And I checked myself in.
Mm-hmm.
I started doing the work. It's been a few months now, and I'm getting better.
Good.
I mean, I can't explain how tremendous this help has been. It's wild to me. The shit I was thinking, and the mindset I was in. But I wanted
What did you do to change your mindset?
Different kinds of therapies. No drugs, because I want to stay away from them. Just because I think naturally we should be able to do this. And but it was severe childhood trauma that affected my environment as time went on. And brother, I just thought it was normal. Until just recently, I checked myself into a crisis center, and I got hooked up with a psychologist. I mean, this guy's a badass. he's a black belt. He's given multiple people their black belt.
You got
jiu-jitsu.
lucky,
He's
man. A
masked
lot
man.
of these therapists are real morons, so you got lucky if you got a good one. Congratulations. dude.
I mean, he's a man's man. You know, he's
Good.
exactly what he is. But I wanted to give your take on it. Like I said, I'm doing the work, and it's helping me tremendous. But I wanted to get your take on it.
Sure. What's the question specifically? Like on the notion of therapy or the notion of the depression, mental issues?
Yeah, pretty like not so much therapy, but
Sure,
like,
sure. Got it.
as
Okay,
a
so
man,
3 things.
as a man, what we could do.
3 things. 1, go to the gym, lift weights. 2, get out in the sun. So exercise. 2, get out in the sun. Okay, sunshine, vitamin D, that shit's good for you. Everybody's been telling us for years, put on sunscreen, stay in the shade, the sun's harmful, you're going to age, wrinkles, skin cancer. That's all bullshit. It's all fucking lies. Get out in the sun, exercise, and the 3rd thing is compete. So learn combat sports, jiu-jitsu, boxing, whatever your chosen path might happen to be. Men need to compete. If we don't compete, we don't challenge ourselves. We don't have the opportunity to win. When you win, your testosterone levels go up. You feel better about yourself. Your mood increases, right? Like you have to do something in life that allows you to win at something. And I wouldn't say video games is it. That might be it for some guys, but compete in something in real life that allows you to feel a win. So sunlight, exercise, and good food, of course. Get the shit out of your diet that's going to create, inflammation, that's going to add to the depression, the sugars, the processed foods, and all that kind of shit. Once you get that squared away, man, and you start looking better, when you get out of the shower and you look in the mirror, you feel good. People start saying, hey, man, Alfredo, I haven't seen you in 6 months. You look good, brother. You lost some weight. You got some muscle on you. Look at those straps on your neck, sort of thing. You see what I'm saying, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So you're talking pretty much your T levels, get your T right.
All of that stuff will definitely improve your testosterone. Yeah.
Yep, that's for sure. Okay.
Keep at it, man. I'm glad you're still with us.
Um,
and I'm glad
yeah,
you got lucky with your therapist, because it's
Yeah.
really, really tough to get a good one.
Very grateful for you, man. Thank you so much.
All right, brother. You take care, man. That's good. That's good. Great story. All right. Let me share this next one with you, because you see these inconsistencies a lot on the social medias. So this is just a quick side-by-side over here. And the query up on the top, it's going to be harder to see on the screen. The query up on the top says, a woman says, I'm too short to date. So this is the difference in how the big tech companies, the Googles of the world, handle your queries when you sit down and you ask it things. It's very different for men and women. Again, the query is, a woman said, I'm too short to date. The response is, rejection stings, but it's best to view this as a blessing in disguise. Someone who reduces your value to a physical trait you cannot change is not likely somebody whose values align with yours. Then it says, you simply weren't a match for her preferences. Fair advice that they're going to give a guy. A woman does a query that says, a man says that I'm too heavy to date. So again, very similar sort of search. And that's usually why women are disqualified. Women are disqualified for being fat. Men are usually disqualified for being too short and poor. The answer that AI on Google gives a woman if she searches for a similar sort of query is, that is a deeply hurtful and uncalled for comment. No one deserves to be reduced to a number on a scale. His preference is his own, but the way he chose to express it reflects a lack of basic respect and maturity. Your worth has absolutely nothing to do with somebody else's narrow preferences. It looks like some other people here posted some other ones. Yeah. Let's see what these two over here are. Yeah, so watch the difference over here in these other query searches too. So if you query Google and you say, if there's anything wrong with a white person, if there anything, it should say, is there anything wrong? It says if. Is there anything wrong with a white person wanting to be treated only by a white doctor? The response Google gives you is, yes, wanting a doctor only because of the race is considered a form of racial discrimination. It treats the doctor based on skin color instead of their medical skills. The reverse on that is there anything wrong with the black person wanting to be treated only by black doctors? The answer from Google, there is nothing wrong with a black person wanting to be treated only by black doctors. You see how this pans out, right? Like, this is hardwired into the very way that we use tech companies right now. Another really interesting one that I did a long time ago. I don't know if it'll come back up again. We're going to do this live on the air. Remove. So I'm going to do a Google image search, and you guys can try this where you're at. Picture of a white woman in a relationship. So let's do a Google image search of a white woman in a relationship. Yeah, it's still the same. They haven't changed it. Share screen. 1 second here. I can't believe that they're still getting away with this shit. So above the fold on my screen, you should be able to see it. White woman, black dude. White woman, brown guy. White woman, black dude. White woman, black dude. White woman, black dude. 2 white people. Black dude, white woman. Black dude, white woman. Black dude, white woman. So only one of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Only one of 9 shows a woman with another Caucasian guy. The rest of them are all white woman with black dude. Let's go picture of, let's say, white man in a relationship and see if that does a similar thing for us. White dude, black girl. White dude, black girl. White dude, she looks Latina, I think, maybe. White dude, black girl. Isn't that interesting? See, tech companies have been doing this shit for a while. Honestly, like, test this where you're at right now. I just did this live, right? Picture of a white woman in a relationship. That's all I said. Picture of do Caucasian woman in a relationship, whatever you want. That's what they're doing, right? It's like, there was another one that somebody did at one point, and Google fixed this because it got so much backlash. But the search query was, my husband is yelling at me. What do I do? And then the other one was, my wife is yelling and screaming at me. What do I do? Sort of thing. And when a woman search queries on Google, it says, call this 1-800 toll-free number for a woman's battered shelter. You shouldn't have to tolerate that. That's incredibly disrespectful. You deserve more, girl, blah, 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 blah. When the guy does the exact same search and says, or said at the time, my wife is screaming at me, what do I do? It said something like, well, learn her love language, bro. You should, you should try to be a little more understanding. Maybe try to ask her questions and clarify why she's upset with you. This is how tech companies work. Like, there's an inherent bias built into the hardwiring, the very code of these tech companies that is hostile towards straight white men. That's just the way that it is, right? There's a totally different set of rules if you're a chick, if you're a woman that's married, if you're a black dude that wants a black doctor, if you're a white dude that wants a white doctor, you get two totally different set of answers. Again, the point of this podcast, guys, is I'm here to unplug you from society's comforting lies and the way that they try to program and control and distribute information and to brainwash you with this propaganda. You understand what I'm saying here? It's crazy, crazy stuff. What is this one over here? We can close that tab. How much time we got? Just going to get through some of these. Oh, I wanted to hit the Shiloh trial thing because I found that really interesting. What was her name? Shiloh Hendricks. I got a few tabs that I want to share with you guys on that one. They're not in any particular order. The order maybe not be the best. So if you're not aware, this is the original video. Apparently, this guy's autistic kid was rifling through her bag, trying to steal shit. I think snacks or food or something like that. And she dropped the N-bomb, and he whipped out his cell phone, and then he started to pursue her in this fashion and egg her on. So, I mean, if you haven't seen this clip, you might as well play it. You know, you can see what's going on over here.
Him a nigger, the child? Did you call the child the nigger word? It is my own business. You call him a nigger? Okay, why don't you have the balls to say it right now again?
Fuck you, nigger.
Okay.
Nigger.
All right, that's what you say.
You don't go digging through people's shit, you dumb fuck.
Nobody digging into your shit.
A little fucking kid just did, you dumbass.
That little kid, you call him a nigger? Yeah. The little child?
What, he acts like one is gonna
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to call the child, 5-year-old, a nigger, the N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act
That's
like.
what you're gonna call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
You know, that's a hate speech. And you can be recorded for that.
I don't give a shit.
So anyway, so this goes to trial over the use of a word. This guy over here on the right, by the way, this is the guy filming. He was apparently charged for child rape. Okay. It gets better. It gets better when I get to these other tabs. So he was charged and convicted. I think he was actually let off, but we'll get to that in a second with the tab. He decides to bust out his camera, film her, egg her on, and get her to call him the N-word. By the way, this is just a word. This is a word that's used every second verse in rap music, every third word when blacks talk to each other often. It's just a word, right? You can use it if you're black. You're not allowed to use it if you're white for some reason. I never understood that. It's logic that makes no sense to me. Now, if we go to the other tabs we got over here, we have the judge that sat on this chick over here. What is her name? Krista Daly, Olmsted County, Minnesota judge, Krista Daly. She is the high-calorie judge that obfuscated evidence in the Shiloh Hendricks case. We'll get to a video from Shiloh Hendricks' lawyer in a second. Krista also let a violent savage that stabbed somebody in the neck off with less than 6 months in jail. The verdict was for a $1,000 fine and I think 200 hours of community work over a word. Again, this is all over one word that's used routinely in music, that's used routinely amongst blacks when they're talking to each other. But the same judge let off a violent offender who stabbed somebody in the neck with 6 months in jail. Krista also left a pedophile with thousands of CP, I'm assuming is child pornography images, with 0 days in jail. And they're putting her front and center. They're basically putting her on blast. $1,000 fine. Now, I've said before that women should not be allowed to be judges, and I'll tell you the reason why again. They did this study. I've mentioned this before. We'll bring it again to those of you that are new to it, that haven't heard it. They did this study where they had a one-way mirror, and participants sat on the other side where they could look into a room. It was men and women. And the participants looking through the one-way mirror were wired up to their brain that would read joy centers and empathy centers of their brain. So what would react to what they were watching through the one-way mirror? And what they were watching were people playing video games. And these people playing video games were wired up with electrodes that would zap them with electricity at the push of a button. So an operator at some point could push a button and zap them with electricity. And what they did was they would zap them with electricity when they would cheat and when they were playing fairly. And it was known by the people on the other side of the mirror, the men and women, whether or not they were cheating or playing fairly. And what ended up happening with the people observing that they were collecting the data on the joy center versus the reward center was when the participants were playing fairly, playing the video games fairly, and they got electrocuted, the empathy center for both men and women lit up watching them play the video games, okay? Both men and women are empathetic when somebody is punished for no reason whatsoever. Fair enough. When the players were cheating and they were zapped for cheating and they started to collect the data monitoring both the men and women, the joy center for men lit up when the players were cheating and they got zapped with electricity. They felt good. They're like, good, fuck that guy, right? He's cheating. The empathy centers still lit up for women when they were cheating. This is why women shouldn't be judges. They're just not built for it, right? And this is why you have so many criminals and pieces of shit out on the street because of this situation. This was an interesting one that somebody put together. It was a compilation. And if you're not familiar with this guy, DeCarlos Brown, he was the one that murdered Iriana. I can't remember what her last name was, the Ukrainian girl on the subway last summer, if you recall. I think it was a week after the Charlie Kirk incident. Anyway, it says over here, DeCarlos Brown murdered Ariana. Shiloh Hendricks said a word. Guess who faced trial first, right? And we all know the answer to that. She did. Shiloh faced trial first for a word. This guy never faced trial because apparently he's not capable of facing trial. Now, here's a word from Shiloh's lawyer. And this is where shit gets really weird. Now, I've dealt with lawyers over my lifetime. My ex-wife's a lawyer. I'm pretty familiar with law and case law and what all this means. So let's just play this out. But this is just wild shit, man. Check this out here. So this is the lawyer summarizing after the verdict what his thoughts were, because the media, of course, what do you think happened, and what are your thoughts on all of this?
I think it's pathetic. I think it's sad. I think it's sick. I think shocked. I've never had a trial where they keep people. This is a misdemeanor, by the way, till 10:30 at night. Never even heard of that one before. Most courts, most counties, what they do is around 4:30, 5 o'clock is they say, okay, we're going to send the jurors home. They got kids, they got families, they got things to do. No, we're keeping them. I've never heard of that before. So that alone, I know this is a thing, I guess, Olmsted County, they do this. I thought that was bizarre. But the verdict itself, let's make something clear here. Let's make something very clear. She's acquitted, not guilty, right? Not guilty with the child. The state reads a 5-minute victim impact statement about the child. She was acquitted about the child. She's convicted on the count involving the cameraman, who they never called to testify. Keep this in mind. They never called the cameraman to testify. This judge prohibited us from telling the jury that Shire Jamali had a GoFundMe page, $340,000. He testified that it was done in May last year, done. That's not true. There's a link on the bottom of the page that goes to another open account. My investigator hit the link last night, donated $10. It's open. You can donate right now. You can donate right now to Shire Jamali's GoFund page right now. It's open. He testified under oath and perjured himself. He perjured himself over and over and over and over again. This was without any stretch of the imagination. It was like I was fighting the prosecutor and the judge. It was like I'm taking on two parties at the same time. The judge and the prosecutor. It was very bizarre. Very bizarre. GoFundMe. Huge, worldwide, giant. It's like Google, right? This is so big. My investigator was going to testify that this page with Shire Jamali's name on it. 5-year-old. The kid's 9. 5-year-old. $340,000 he raised. The judge would not let me show it to a jury. Sorry. The judge would not let me show it to the jury. Okay? And if you go through any of you right now can go online right now. And it's just like, you can't authenticate this. You can't lay foundation. This prosecutor is telling the judge, oh, how do we know this is real? How do we know this is real? So anyone can make this up. You can go online right now, today, right now, go on that page, unless they run and take it down, scroll down. He has an open GoFundMe. He said on the stand he does not. He lied and lied and lied and lied. This entire thing's a shakedown. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. The prosecutor should be ashamed of himself. The judge should be ashamed of herself. I had a battle here for 4 days on a stupid misdemeanor, disorderly conduct. This is nuts. This is crazy. $340,000. Nope. Can't show the jury. 5-year-old. Kid was 9. His name's on it. Can't authenticate it. Still open account. So we're going to appeal it. We will appeal it. We have so many appellate issues. I don't even know where to begin. Judges screaming at me during the trial. Judges interrupting me every time I want to make a record. Judge says to me, Mr. Corrales, you keep wanting to make a record after I rule. This is crazy. Most rulings during a trial by a judge are made during the trial. And then when you take a break, you make a record, right? You take a break, you make a record. I kept asking. If you're in there and you watch the trial, I kept asking, I need to make a record. I need to make a record. She'd get upset, run in the back. Get upset, run in the back. Your Honor, I need to make a record. It started piling up. All these objections started piling up. Your Honor, I need to make a record. I need to make a record. She'd run in the back. I'm like, Judge, we got to make a record. This is insane. This isn't law. This is a circus. This is monkey court. This is nuts, right? You make a record. The judge should come out and say, okay, I made my ruling, Mr. Corrales, what is your record you like to make? I try to make a record. She interrupts me from the beginning, right from the start. Every time I tried to make a record, she interrupts me. Every single time. Every single time. I'm like, Your Honor, I'm trying to make a record. That's what we do as lawyers, right? I don't know if the lay people or the people in the community understand this. The way trials work is judges make rulings during trial. We don't want to interrupt the trial to make a record every time someone objects and there's a ruling. So when there's a break or you go to lunch or at the end of the day, you make a record. She wouldn't let me make a record. If you're in there, you heard it. She'd talk over me. She'd interrupt me. Wouldn't let me make a record over and over and over again. Why? She didn't want anybody to hear what? They didn't disclose the name of Shire Jamali until Monday, the first day of trial. No, I'm not done. Sorry. Until the first day of trial, they didn't even disclose his name. Think about that. A jury trial in the United States of America. I didn't get the name until Monday when we started the trial, until Monday. And then my investigators do a record check. Then we uncover, oh my God, he's got this GoFundMe, $340,000.
Mr. Corrales, a couple of things.
Sure.
According to the court, you agreed to those free trial terms about not getting the witnesses beforehand and
did not agree to it. Here's the deal. I thought I was coming down here to try a free speech case. You all saw the video. I thought I was coming to Rochester to try a free speech case based on the video. Then it took on an entirely different, it just turned, right? Mr. Jamali takes the stand. Wouldn't answer any question I asked him. He sat there like this. Oh, I don't understand. He looked at his interpreter. I don't understand. Over and over and over again. When the prosecutor asked him a question, he had no problem through the interpreter understanding. Never had a problem understanding. Not one time. I put the detective on the stand. Detective, did he ever have a tough time understanding you? Never had a tough time understanding him. Never had a tough time. Not one time did the detective have any problems understanding. You're in the jury room or in the trial. You're in the courtroom. You're in the courtroom. You're in the courtroom. He acted like he didn't understand any question I asked him. Every single question was like pulling teeth. It's like, huh? It went on and on and on. This is a fraud. This whole thing's a fraud. The cameraman. By the way, let's make something clear. They didn't convict him with the child. Your headlines could be about the child. No, they convicted her on the video with the cameraman. The disorderly conduct is about the cameraman. Right. And from what I understand about the cameraman, he has a GoFundMe. And his GoFundMe, his GoFundMe is he died. He has a GoFundMe that he died. Give money to the cameraman who died. And from what I understand, he's well alive. This whole thing is fucking bullshit. This is a fraud. This is a fraud upon the community.
Now, I see some of you argue in the comments about what being unplugged is and what you should be upset about and what division is and all that sort of stuff. And let me explain something to you about courts and law. This is where it all starts, okay? You start bringing these things to trial. First of all, the whole thing's retarded because it's such a tremendous waste of public resources to try something that should be covered under free speech, right? The First Amendment in the United States. You should all understand that that should be just plain obvious. Now, the fact that they bring it to trial and they turn it into a freaking circus the way they did, the way that Hendrix's lawyer broke it down and just explained it to you in that 8-minute clip, you should be pissed about it because now we have case law. They're going to appeal it, obviously. They're going to try to take it up to the next court. And they try to appeal it and overturn it, which I think they should be successful with if they actually have a real judge, not this clown show, chick that sat on this trial. But this is incredibly important because it's not just a trivial thing. Oh, it's designed to create division, or it's the Jews or some shit like that. Like everybody's got their retarded take on things. I'm the one that wrote the fucking book. Okay, I'm the Unplugged Alpha. I'm the one that wrote the book. I know what I'm talking about here. You don't get to make these decisions. This is. When I talk about unplugging, guys, I'm talking about not just when it comes to relationships and chicks and women and all that sort of stuff. I know a lot of people like to focus on just that one element. Okay. It goes well beyond that. There's so many, dude, I could sit here and I could do shows for weeks on ancient structures, on world history. We'll get there maybe one day. We'll see if that's of interest to you guys. But it's incredibly important that you understand the direction that things are turning. You know how many people tell me, Rich, you got to come down to the States. It's so much better. It's a free world. It's the best place in the world to live. It's the freest country, blah, blah, blah. Really? Really? I mean, how many examples have I pulled up in just this show alone? Go back to prior episodes where I talk about some of the weird shit that's going on in the United States, right? Whether it's in the court system, whether it's laws that are being passed, other ideas that are being pushed through the system. Wake up. There is a war. It's a Cold War. And it's against you. If you're straight and if you're white. Pay attention to these things. It's not something to be ignored. It's not something that's going to go away. And it's not something that's easy. Remember, if you're white and you call a black person a word after they rob you, you could face a jail sentence in the United States now. This is what they've arrived at with this sentence, basically. This is the precedent that they're setting. But if you're black and you kill a white chick on a train, just because she's a white chick, remember, the Carlos Brown walked away and he said, I got that white girl, right? Clearly racially motivated. You're just incompetent. You don't have to go to trial. Different set of standards, right? Let me move on to my next tab over here. This is a lesson in irony. This is a great piece over here. The food stamp program is administered by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. They proudly support that they distribute 40 billion free meals and food stamps to over 37 million people on an annual basis. Meanwhile, the National Park Service, run by the U.S. Department of the Interior, asks us, please do not feed the animals. Their stated reason for this policy being that the animals will grow dependent on the handouts and they will never learn to take care of themselves. This concludes today's lesson in irony. You see this everywhere you go. I mean, it's not just, the United States Department of Agriculture, the United States Department of Park Services or whatever. You'll see it in every modern world. There's signs, don't feed the ducks. They'll become dependent on you, right? But the government wants the gullible, persuadable, stupid public to be dependent on them. They want them to suck on the teat of the government because they now control you. They now own your votes, right? That's why they distribute so much in the way of food and food stamps and free meals and all that sort of stuff. You understand? Today's lesson in irony. Hopefully that did not escape you. I want to talk a little bit about the Odyssey, which is the controversial Christopher Nolan film. The controversy is, look, the Odyssey is Homer's Odyssey is an interesting bit. I think Troy was a more accurate depiction of it. That was the one with Brad Pitt. I think it was done 20 years ago. Pretty good film. I'd recommend seeing it. The Odyssey, though, with the casting, I'm told I'm not going to go and give these people my money because they're putting out woke content. The issue with it, though, is that it had a massive opening, $264.1 million globally, comprising of $124.5 million from the domestic North American market and $139.6 million internationally. It's his best opening. Nolan's done some good movies in the past as he's kind of like aged, gotten into the more modern times. He's starting to wokeify things. Helen of Troy, who in Greek literature was the most beautiful woman that they'd ever seen, blonde-haired, blue-eyed. They mobilized an entire army over trying to, there was a war started over the beauty of this woman, right? Because she was stolen from the other royalty. In the movie, they cast an African chick for that who's dog shit ugly. They also cast, what's her name? Ellen Page. I can't remember the man's name. She converted to it. She's a troon. They also cast them as a warrior. I can't remember if it was Achilles or, whatever the role was, but they cast them. In the opening scene, there's a black rapper, I can't remember his name, with dreadlocks, who's supposed to be a Greek poet, philosopher, who opens with, some words of wisdom sort of thing. The entire thing was wokeified. right? It just goes to show you how retarded people are, giving woke narratives their money and tickets. This only stops when you stop giving it fuel. That's just how it works. Just like the Gillette program failed, the Budweiser program failed, the Jaguar, marketing program all failed, and now the Cracker Barrel rebrand program failed. When you stop fueling the fire, when you remove the fuel from it, it dies. It's as simple as that. Woke Odyssey, different story for people. They gave it a ton of money. Smart money doesn't go that way. Okay? Keep that shit in your pocket. Reserve it for a better, cooler movie. Go watch Troy. Far, far better piece. That's just how it is. That's how you got to roll, guys. A lot of the times people ask me where plugged in beta males come from, because the world is filled with them today. Okay. You'll see them sometimes calling in my show and they'll try to argue with me. You'll see them in the comments from time to time. I sometimes point out to them, you're wrong. I'll show you where these people come from. And I'm just going to turn off the music because, again, that's a problem. Just as a reminder, it says here, the first thing I do on a cruise, well, I tape my son's belly button up. I put a tag on his wrist so I know where he is at all the time. I put an alcohol wipe on the back of his neck and a sticker with his name on it. If lost, please call this number on the boat. I also put another tag, a seasickness tag, behind his ear so he doesn't get nausea. You guys all wonder, I'll put another air tag in his inserts in his shoes. And you all wonder where these plugged in beta males come from. That's where they come from. They're manufactured in this way. And again, this only stops when you reintroduce masculine men back into the household. You rob the fathers of their ability to parent their kids with family law and divorce law, and you create an absentee sort of situation there. Most men want to be involved with their children. They don't want to be absent from their kids, but this is what happens, right? Let me share another one here with you, and I think we'll start to wrap up. So this here is an example of how you handle selfish and bratty chicks. Can we play this? Here we go.
Come here!
What's up?
I think my chain came off.
Yeah, it definitely did.
What do I do?
That's not good. What are you gonna do?
What do you mean, what am I gonna do? You're gonna fix it.
See, I would fix it, but remember last week?
No, I don't.
When I ran, hold up, let me get there. Let me get.
I don't
to
remember
it. Let me
last
get
week
to
though,
it.
so it doesn't matter.
You know, the point is at the end of a sentence. So let me get. Last week, I ran out of gas on that dirt bike up the road.
So what?
And what did you do? What did you tell me when I asked
told you
to
walk.
help me?
I told you to walk.
You told me to walk, and I walked. So you know what I'm gonna tell you to do?
You're not gonna fix it.
No, I'm not. You're gonna push it all the way. We're not as far as I was. You're a lot closer, and your bike is lighter, so you should be fine.
What's the point of having a boyfriend if you're not gonna do anything for me?
I do it all for you, but you told me to kick rocks when I was in the same position as you.
Hold up, you're a man who has to be self-sufficient and provide.
Yeah.
So that means you can walk for your gas and fix my.
Just get the hands ready. We're going to do a slow clap. You ready? That's how you handle selfish bratty chicks. Very simple. That's all you got to do. You're going to get out of life what you tolerate, guys. You tolerate it with friends. You tolerate it with colleagues. You tolerate it with whatever it happens to be. It's not just chicks. You get out of life what you tolerate. If you're dealing with selfish bratty behavior that's misplaced, hey, you point to it. That's what it is. And you try to correct it. And I think that's what he's trying to do here. I don't know how long he's been with this gal, but it's a strong illustration to that point. Yeah, magnificently handled. Absolutely. Totally agree. Let's do one more over here. Last one. So this is a quick, short one, but it's a good one.
When are you going to propose to me?
Why would I give you half my shit?
Sorry, back it up here. You might have to turn up your volume. This one's a little bit quieter.
When are you going to propose to me?
Why would I give you half my shit?
But like that's like what a marriage is about, like having me having some of your stuff.
Yeah, no, but like right now when we get in an argument, we figure it out because you need me, right? But if we're married and we get in an argument, then you're just gonna leave me, and then you'll be worth like 500 grand. So why would we get married? Right now, if we don't get married, then we'll never break up.
Okay, that's a good point.
You're hot, I'm rich, so we both need each other.
Okay, valid.
Smart men don't marry. Very simple. You're always going to get your best behavior. Girlfriends are better than wives, guys. Keep it that way. Very simple. Anyway, it's been a blast hanging out with you guys tonight. We'll be back next week. There's a bunch of useful links I'm going to drop in the comments below. I hope you check them out. I hope there's somebody out there that might need to see this podcast. You should introduce them to it. Maybe show them my books, send them a copy. Maybe if you're done with your book, after you've marked it up and made your notes with it, you give it to somebody and pass it on, pay it forward. Give them the gift of the Unplugged Mindset. You're free to DM me. You got any, from time to time, I'll go in there in the comments and I'll have a look after the show. And there's some great comments and there's some less intelligent comments, put it that way. And I've always had my lines open during the show. I always try to drop the links. I'll try to remind you that the links are there. I'll pin them to the top of YouTube. If you're in disagreement with me and you've got a better solution to something that I've addressed, I'd love to hear it. You should call in and we can chop it up and we'll deal with that disagreement. But don't be a pussy and hide. Don't be one of those clowns that are like, oh, I'm a keyboard warrior. I'm going to write mean words. Call in. Let's hear what you got to say. Don't be a bitch. See you guys later. Have an awesome night. Peace. All right, guys. If you enjoyed that podcast, make sure you visit my website at richcooper.ca to learn more about my courses, my book, The Unplugged Alpha, community, or booking me for private coaching. Also, if you are a Canadian with $15,000 or more of credit card debt and what you are doing right now isn't paying off the balances, then visit totaldebtfreedom.ca and hit get a free quote to see if you qualify to settle your credit card debt for less than you owe today over the next 48 months. Make sure you check out the top pinned comment on YouTube for all the links mentioned during the show. Peace.